Well, I think we are ready for another book of the minor prophets. We're up to Haggai. That is the 10th of the 12 minor prophets. So we have two more after this. And Haggai, very related to Ezra and Nehemiah, talking about not building the walls like Nehemiah, but building the temple like Ezra talks about. In 539 BC, Cyrus, king of the Persians, decreed that the Jews could return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple, and that is highlighted in the book of Ezra. About 20 years later, Haggai prophesied that the temple still wasn't rebuilt, and the people were kind of dragging their feet, and that was a problem. See, in the Jewish view of things, the three most important things are the law, the land, and the temple. That those are the things that show that God is with them. So the law, we know in reading the history of Israel, they had a lot of idolatry. Well, the exiles seem to have cured that as they developed a synagogue system where the law was continually taught. And so they had that going for them. When Cyrus decreed the Jews could return, they could go back to the land. But they were still missing that third piece, the temple. And so the message of Haggai is that God is not going to bless you if you care more about the things that God gives you than you do about God. And so we're just going to look at the first 8 verses of Haggai, a small 2-chapter book, and see what it has to say. Verse 1, in the 2nd year of Darius the king, in the 6th month, on the 1st day of the month, the word of the Lord came by the hand of Haggai, the prophet, to Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and Joshua, son of Jehozadak, the high priest. Thus says the Lord of hosts, these people say, the time has not yet come to rebuild the house of the Lord. Then the word of the Lord came by the hand of Haggai, the prophet. Is it a time for you yourselves to dwell in your paneled houses, while this house lies in ruin? Now, therefore, says the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. You have sown much and harvested little. You eat, but you never have enough. You drink, but you never have your fill. You clothe yourself, but no one is warm. And he who earns wages does so to put them in a bag filled with holes. Thus says the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. Go up to the hills and bring wood and build the house that I may take pleasure in it and that I may be glorified, says the Lord. And so here is the message of God to the people, that they're saying, no, it's more important for us to establish our homes, living in paneled houses, as Haggai says, nice homes. We need to make sure that we have the harvest planted. These are the things we have to occupy our time with. We'll get to the temple. And God's saying, no. Those are fine things. You need to eat. You need a place to live. You need the things that these people are running after. But they put a higher priority on that. And so Haggai is here to remind them, look, you're sowing a lot, but you're getting very little. That you're doing a lot, but not getting good reward from it. And so because of that, he's saying the real reason is because you're not putting God first. You can see the modern day application. Sometimes we are so busy with life that we aren't really living because of the fact that we're putting God second or third or 10th. And so as we are looking at Haggai and the message of the temple was important. Why? It says it right there at the end of verse 8, that God will take pleasure and that God will be glorified. And so as we live our life, does God take pleasure in what we're doing? Is God glorified in how we live? And if we're not, understand what Haggai and his message is. And that is, until you get your priorities right, that you'll always be struggling with getting established because God is not first in your life. So I hope you can read these 2 chapters for yourself, see what the various messages are, and see your thoughts on the book of Haggai.